Alrighty, so for today's math lesson, we are working on Unit 13, Lesson 6. Okay, so today we're working on bar graphs. We've been working previously with picture graphs, but today we're switching it up and changing to bar graphs. Okay, so with picture graphs, we usually use a symbol, correct, to represent each piece of information or each data. Okay, instead we are going to be using bars. Okay, they can go either horizontally or vertically, but we'll go over some vocabulary in just a second. Our objective for today is I will draw bar graphs to represent data and answer questions about the data. So again, we are just taking information and we will be putting them into bar graphs. And then we will be answering questions based on whatever information we have or our data. All right, so let's get back to our vocabulary. So again, there are two types of bar graphs. There's a horizontal bar graph. So if you remember when we were working with multiplication and we talked about rows and columns, our rows go horizontally, right? Like the horizon line. Okay, so here are the same like our picture graph. We have our labels on the left for our horizontal graph. And then down here is our scale. So the numbers that we input on our picture graph are on the scale, but we don't put just random numbers. You always put you start at 0 and you put every number that's going to fit all of the numbers that you have. Okay, so which one is the largest bar? Purple. And how many does purple have? 8. So you're not going to make a scale with just 5 on it. And you don't want to make a scale all the way to 100. You just want to make put enough numbers on the scale for the largest number to fit. Okay, then vertical bar graph, it's the same information, right? It's the same information that's up here. It's just turned vertically. The bars go up and down vertically. Okay, but it's the same thing. You have a scale, except for it goes up and down. You have your scale label. Oh, I forgot to mention up here, your scale label. Okay, so that we know what we're counting. Okay, so same thing here. We have the scale numbers and then the scale label or title, and then you have your category labels down here. Okay, so it's the same information. It's just organized in different ways, and you can choose however you want to make yours when it's your turn. When we do our problems coming up, the graph is already there. They already give you the setup. So you just need to fill in the information. All right, so here are the steps. Number 1, read and gather the data. Read or gather the data. Step number 2 is to draw and label the graph. Step 3 is to fill in the data. And step 3 is to use the data or graph to answer the questions. Number 1. Okay, so our directions tell us to create graphs and then answer questions. Same instructions that we've been having. Number 1 says to survey the class about their favorite dessert, ice cream, favorite yogurt, pie, or cake. Okay, so they want us to gather the data. And obviously, this is not possible because we're not in the classroom, but you can either gather data from people around your house, okay, or you can make up numbers yourself. So imagine you can say, oh, I think that Kelvin would like ice cream. I think that Janai would like ice cream too. I think Jakai would like frozen yogurt, and so on and so forth. And I think that's the way that you need to gather your data. Either imagine your friends in the class and think, what do you think that they would vote on? okay, and come up with the numbers. I'm going to come up with numbers on my own. So I think that 5 students would come up with ice cream. I think that 10 students would say cake. I think that only 3 people would say pie, and I think 6 people would say frozen yogurt. Oh, 7. No. 4. We'll say 4. Okay. Now, we need to use the data to fill in the vertical bar graph. So, this graph has the number of votes and the numbers going up and down. So my bars are going to go up and down. Okay, so here the first label or the first dessert that they're talking about is the ice cream. All I need to do is look here for ice cream and see how many votes I had. I know that if there's a line across, that's 5. So I need to make my bar up to 5. So I'm going to go right here, ice cream, start at 0, go a line all the way up to 5. But I'm going to make a thick bar. I'm going to make a bar, so I need to make a line parallel. That means a line exactly right next to it, up and down. Draw a line across, and then fill it in. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing for the rest. All right, I made bars for all of the rest. So for cake, there was 10 votes, so I made a bar all the way up to 10. Okay, then pie, we had 3 votes, so I did 1, 2, 3, and then frozen yogurt had 4. Okay, so it's just really important that you make a bar from starting at 0, and you stop wherever, however many votes that you had. So ice cream had 5, so I stopped at 5. All right, the next part. We read and gathered the data. We drew and labeled the graph. It was already made for us. We filled in the data, and then now we need to answer our questions. Okay. Number 2 says, ask the students questions about the graph. How many students voted for ice cream or frozen yogurt? Okay, so ice cream had 5, and frozen yogurt had 4. So 5 plus 4 is 9. 9 students voted for ice cream or frozen yogurt. Sorry, it's a little sloppy. My finger was running off the page. All right, B. What dessert was the most popular? Well, what does that mean when something is the most popular? Does that mean that it has the smallest number of students voting or the largest? Largest. So I just look here and automatically I say, oh, this one has the biggest bar. Therefore, the answer is cake. Cake was the most popular. Okay, which dessert was the least popular? Well, if this one means that the most amount of students voted for it, then we need to look for the smallest bar for the smallest amount of students, and that is pie. So pie was the least popular. Okay, so when you're looking for the most, you're looking for the biggest bar. When you're looking for the least popular, you're looking for the smallest bar. All right, so I want you guys to do structured guided practice and final check. And that's all for today's math. All right, guys, get going.